I think they should be the favorites. Let's put it that way. I do think they should win it. I think it might be closer than you say going away. That's my feeling.
Good morning, Jesse. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning, boys. What's going on?
So, Jess, have you packed for Japan yet?
I have not. I'll be in Florida when they're in Japan, unfortunately. This is what's happening, Cap. They're sending me to the Cardinals camp instead of Japan. Can you believe that?
No, especially with the Cubs off to a 7-1 start. So let's start right there. Matt Shaw, does he make the trip? He's been cleared to play. I know he was 0 for 3, but if you're letting him play in spring training games, why wouldn't you send him to Japan?
Yeah, I think he does. Barring a setback, of course. I think he's going to play every other day. He's going to get into the field soon enough. He says he's 100%. I don't see why he wouldn't. The only reason would be to get him a little bit more work back in Arizona. But, you know, there's exhibition games there. There's practices. It's really a day of travel on either side that you lose some workout time. But otherwise, I think it's good for him to be with the team. And also, they need a third baseman in those two games. Turner's not going to be that guy, though he took some ground balls there this weekend. So, yeah, Cap, I think he goes, barring a setback. It's not like it's 2 days from now. It's 2 weeks from now. So I think he'll be ready.
So what have you gleaned from the Cubs so far? Again, very good spring from a one-loss record standpoint. Yep. But what are the stories that appeal to you so far from Craig Counsell?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple. One is Miguel Amaya picking up where he left off. He looks great at the plate, 7 for 15. Remember, him and PCA struggled so much in the first half and then had great second halves. Amaya looks like the real deal at the plate now. This is spring training. But again, the way he finished last season and starts this year, I think that's telling. So Miguel Amaya as your starting catcher was something in doubt a year ago. They were looking, by the All-Star break, they were thinking about replacing him. And he's come on strong, and he's looked just as good at the plate as he did. So there's one storyline people aren't thinking about. The other is, and I was questioning their backups. Remember, Cap, we would make fun of Miles Mastrobuoni and everything.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure if their backups were going to be that good, but they have looked really good at the plate. If you want to talk about the difference between the Cubs and Sox right now, the depth guys on the Cubs have really looked good this spring. It is only spring, but competition has to come from somewhere, and it comes from spring games. And whether it's a Rule 5 pick like Gage Workman, a minor league guy that was picked up, Greg Allen, Vidal Brujan, not household names. But as we know, with Miles Master, these guys will get playing time, and all of a sudden people will be like, he stinks, or wow, what a pickup by Jed. And I got to tell you, Hoodie, there's a lot of good competition in camp, better than I thought. Again, spring stats are spring stats, but you got to judge them somehow. And when you talk about backups, they're into the spring games. Like Kyle Tucker's 0 for 9, who cares? But these backups have been really good and impressive, so I'll give credit at least for the competition they've created.
Couple things. If he's 0 for 9, I'd walk in right now and offer him like a 5-year deal and $1 million a year to see if he wants to sign it.
It's Mark Grace.
Yeah, exactly. My other question is, I have pledged to be a calmer person watching games this year.
Okay.
How does that freaking bullpen look? Because that will get my blood pressure up.
Yeah, Presley's looked better the last 2 outings. It's still coming together, Cap, and which makes sense. It's early March. I still have some doubts. Maybe I have, like you, PTSD from the last couple of years especially. There's more experience, as we've talked about. With experience comes age. It's looking better and better. I mean, Tyson Miller had a good finish to last season. It's one of those things where, again, just like the backups, we don't think of these names until they're out there on opening day in the 8th inning of a tight game. There's quantity. I want to see quality. So I'm still a little doubtful, but it does look better on paper to start this season than it did last year. I mean, think about it. Adbert Alzolay and Mark Leiter Jr. were thrust into huge roles without a ton of experience there. And as much as I like Leiter, it was still a thin, late-inning bullpen. It's got a lot more experience, but I still want to see it all come together. And, again, Presley's looked better the last 2 outings. But let's see, Cap. Let's see as it plays out in April. At least there's more better and more experienced arms back there.
Speaking of the bullpen, does Chris Flexen make the team?
I don't think so. I don't think he's going to make the team. So we can go through some injuries.
Now, wait a minute. He's good enough for the White Sox, not good enough for the Cubs? He can't give you an inning?
Yeah, that guy did have a solid year. I know he didn't get a number of wins. He was on the worst team in baseball. He actually pitched okay.
He did. He ate up innings. I mean, if he accepts a deal down to the minors, he could absolutely be a depth guy, but I'm not sure that he will. I mean,
wait a minute.
Go ahead, Jess. Because it is a big story. If the bullpen holds up, then I think that the win total that's out there is solidified because I believe in the offense, but it all depends on the bullpen. So that's why we're just trying to figure out the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, I hate to say it this way. If the Cubs need Flexen like in a major role, how deep are they? Right? It's really he's for depth. If other guys go down, now Assad went down, but Colin Ray is ahead of Flexen. Ben Brown is ahead of Flexen. So I don't think Flexen makes the team. He's there in case other guys go down. I think that's a good thing. You don't want, and nothing against Chris Flexen. Remember, his ERA was still in the high fours, I believe, last year. Wow. So I don't know. I don't think Flexen makes the team unless more guys go down. Assad has gone down, but there's 3 guys ahead of him.
In terms of this team, like I don't see a reason why, unless, God forbid, there's horrific injury problems, they should win their division comfortably. Do you co-sign that?
I'm not going to co-sign it. I'm not going to say comfortably.
You're better than that.
Yeah. They played the Reds yesterday, lost to the Reds. If Terry Francona still is Terry Francona, I mentioned this last week on the air, like they're going to get a boost. But
yeah, I noticed that worked out real well with Council last year.
True. I do think the Cubs are better than the Reds. I do think that. I will tell you, and I think I mentioned this last week, insiders around the industry within the game do think Cubs, Brewers, Reds are going to be pretty tight, but that's on paper. But they are saying they will separate from the Pirates and Cardinals. Nothing crazy there. No, people are not necessarily counting the Brewers out within the industry. I wonder if any of the 3 teams gets to 90 wins. 90 might win the division. I think they should be the favorites. Let's put it that way. So I do think they should be the favorites. I do think they should win it. I think it might be closer than you say going away. That's my feeling.
Also, by the way, Francona not using the ABS this year, Cap. Oh, in spring training, rather. Spring training.
He's against it.
He's like, okay, none of that. Don't be asking if it's a ball or strike. Just get in the box.
Yeah, and Max Scherzer came out. He goes, can we just have humans, please? Stop with this.
Right, and Council isn't that into it at all. The league isn't happy with these guys. They want to get a real test out of this, and they're getting some blowback from people. But in a year, it could be real, and then you've got to talk a lot about it because there's strategy involved. When do you challenge? I mean, are you challenging in the first inning? Are you challenging with less than 2 strikes? All these things, but none of it matters now. It'll matter when it's real.
Anything that you've seen from it, by the way? Any trends that you've noticed in games that you've covered as far as ABS, as far as the timing? How much is it a timing issue or a time suck on the game?
It's really not a time suck. It does happen quickly. I'm amazed that they show the animation of the pitch on the scoreboard because that really does show up the umpire.
God.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of just telling the guy in his ear whether it's right or wrong. Like the fact that they show it, I think is pretty cool. And it also kind of shows up the guy challenging it if he gets it wrong. But it is what it is. No, it's been pretty seamless. It's been pretty seamless, and that's the only reason I'm for it. If it delayed the game in any manner, I'd be against it. But it's pretty good.
All right, I'm looking I follow at Boston Sports for whatever reason. I follow a billion people. They write this morning, fascinating explanation from Garrett Crochet and his stance last July about needing a contract extension to pitch in the postseason. And then you click on it, it says, ESPN's Jesse Rogers reported on Thursday that Crochet was going to require a team to give him a long-term deal to pitch in the postseason, blah, 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 and he refuses to pitch out of the bullpen. His quote, I don't owe a team that I'm not on anything. For me back then, that was the way to protect myself. Have you talked with him?
No. I will. I'm going to Florida next week, so I will end up at Boston's camp. But I mean, that all coincides with what happened last summer. What's amazing to me about that story is if 10 years ago, the entire baseball world would have came down on him, especially other players. But things have changed. Players protect themselves more than ever because of a lot of reasons involved in, if you get hurt before you hit free agency, you don't get paid, et cetera, et cetera. Teams use up arms and go to the next guy. It's amazing how players came to his defense, not just teammates, but players around the league. So that stance has now become the norm, where years ago when we were growing up, he would have been really criticized about a me-first attitude. So that all coincides with what happened last summer. And, a lot of people actually give him credit for standing up for themselves. I can't remember what your guys' stance was, but I think we've all changed a little bit in this category.
I had no problem what he did.
All right.
Yeah. The way the players get injured now.
All right, Jesse, I'm going to ask you
Any Sacks news?
next right here on Kap and J Hood.
And as you look at the lineup without Benintendi or Colson Montgomery, I mean, even with it, it's tough. But I don't know how they're going to score runs. I don't know how. Now, Colson will be back. Benintendi maybe mid-April, maybe earlier. It's just going to be it's a decent starting staff, not much of an offense and not much of a bullpen, which were kind of the same things that we saw out of last year's team. But Colson's the biggest thing, and he's been delayed with a back problem. Other than that, they just can't score a lot of runs. They did on Saturday, but other than that, they haven't scored much at all.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how's the play?
Right, exactly.
Wow.
But I do like that starting staff. Davis Martin has looked good now as he's come back from injury. It's young. It's got a chance to grow at least, which is what they're counting on.
Jess,
but there's so many other holes.
That
so many other
starting
holes.
staff, though, I said to Hoodie at the break, do they have one guy that's throwing 140 innings in the big leagues?
Martin Perez would be the guy, right? He's the one veteran that they have. And by the way, he's the one that said we might contend this year, and everybody, I think has gone nuts.
People were beating his door down to sign him.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
but Davis Martin, Jonathan Cannon, Drew Thorpe when he's healthy, and then Hagen Smith, Noah Schultz coming. There is the makings of it, and they're hoping their whole rebuild is based on those 3 or 4 or 5 names. But it's a long way to go.
So Hagen Smith is going to start in the minors, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And Schultz.
So
yeah.
I saw Smith in college, and Jesse, you've seen him, with his. I mean, he's just a power arm. He is without question. And that's the thing that gives me hope as a White Sox fan, understanding that, hey, man, there's going to be some cornerstone kids for the future that's going to be really good. I just know it's ugly now, but I think that has some pieces, young pieces that I think can really develop.
Yeah, he just doesn't have them around the diamond. He has pitchers. He doesn't have them around the diamond.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a decision to draft him instead of Jack Caglione, who homered against the White Sox a week ago, the Royals. I wanted the hitter over the pitcher, but it's splitting hairs. Both are talented players, and they've developed pitching much better than hitters. But eventually, they got to find some hitters. I mean, Luis Robert's going to be traded. Benintendi's on the other end of the contract. He'll be traded if he's any good. And they've got to find a whole host of hitters for this lineup, So it's going to be interesting in how long this takes. You mentioned it last year. It's going to be a while. It's going to take a long time.
By the way, on the Martin Perez front, he threw 135 innings last year, 141 and 2/3 the year before. He had a big year in 22. He threw 196. And then prior to that, 114. We'll skip the COVID year, 165, then 85. Like, this dude's not a horse now.
No, he's not. I talked to him at camp, and look, it's not like everybody was, like you said, looking to sign him. He did sign a nice deal for him, $5 million at his age and everything, but he's not a horse. He's not a number one. He's a good leader in the room. I think that's half the reason he was signed. They need some veterans to lead the group, and they do have them in Benintendi and those guys and Vaughn, but they don't have them on the pitching staff. So we'll see. But, yeah, he's probably their most accomplished pitcher, but he's not really all that accomplished in the last few years.
What about this kid, Grant Taylor?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's another name, throws hard, but I'm not sure that there's anything in the near future for him.
What I want for the near future, is for Andrew Vaughn to be off this baseball team. Jesse, he had full autonomy of being the guy, and I just think hopefully there's someone in the minor leagues that could be able to step in there to provide a little pop. Vaughn, he plays like there is a piano on his back. It's his job, and I just think whatever we saw from him is the best.
But what are you getting for him, Hoodie?
No, I'm just saying.
You're going to be giving away the 3rd overall pick, and you don't have somebody ready to play, and nobody's going to give you a lot for him. I would just play the guy. He's got hitting skills.
Well, he's going to play, and just like Benintendi and Robert, a year from now, are all 3 of those guys gone? The last 3 veterans, Vaughn, Benintendi, Robert, all 3. I think there's a chance. Depending on obviously how they perform, because Getz has proven he's not going to give people away. He wants to get something for them. But I think we're 12 to 18 months away from all three of those players being on someone else's team.
I don't need you, Cap, to explain to me who Andrew Vaughn is. I don't need you to, and I don't need the pat on the head from you either. That's enough of that. I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm going through a very difficult time. Do you understand? I don't need your. He was a top draft. So was Madrigal. I don't want to hear it.
By the way, Madrigal out for the year.
Yeah.
Because he sucks. That's why. That's why he's out for the year. Because he's bad. You know what I'm saying, Jesse? There's some of these guys. It's like, okay, by the deadline or when they just can't be here. I mean, you could say in a loud, clear voice that Vaughn is a bust.
Oh, you could probably say that.
No
for
question.
where he was drafted.
Bust?
You could. Well, you could. He
You
hasn't
want
been a
him?
difference maker at all.
Why don't you put him on your ball
not been
club?
a difference maker.
I've got Michael Bush.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then don't be extolling the virtues of Andrew Vaughn. He's a bust. He is. Any diamond notes?
No, that's about it.
All right.
What is this, baseball tonight?
Well, it's got to be somewhere around here, doesn't it? Why not on this show?
I mean, my God.
Jesse, as always, we appreciate the time.
All right, have a great week, boys. Love you.
See you, Jess. Love you.
Jesse, go ahead.